Snails are gastropodias. They are small, shy invertebrates shelled by soft bodies full of calcium. Now, snail meats are usually similar in taste and texture to seafood, but slightly different because they are characteristically organic in nature. Now, snail farming requires very little startup and operating costs, ranging from as low as 100,000 naira to 150,000 naira, depending on the size of the farm. So, on this episode of Community Reports, we're taking a look at snail farming and those who earn a living from it. Welcome to the show. I'm Victoria Ido. With greater consumer awareness of the implication of high cholesterol levels in the blood and the possible association with increased incidence of heart attacks, the demand for snail meat in local and international market continues to grow. Commercial snail farming has become an alternative for livestock farmers as it offers them new business opportunities.
More people are getting more enlightened and are interested in snail farming. It's a lucrative business. It's a business that we really need more farmers really so that we can meet the demand. Supply is a little low. A lot of people eat snails. They are very healthy. They are presumed to be better protein than meat or fish. So because it has a little or no fat content, people prefer it, especially the elderly. But then it's good for everybody.
So this is the shell. This is like the housing for the whole body of the snail. On the head, this part of it is the head. It has the tentacles, it has the mouth. It has two sets of tentacles. You can see the long ones. Then there's another set, a shorter one down there. The eyes of the snail are at the edge of these long tentacles, like where you have a dot, round dots, that's the eyes of the snails. Below it is the lower tentacles, and after the lower tentacles is the mouth. In the mouth you have a set of teeth, which it uses to pick the food. Then it chews it, masticates it, and it goes down the head for digestion. So this is the foot. This is what it used to move around with the aid of its slime.
The feeding of snail is usually very systemic. Snails need a lot of calcium for their growth.
The food is meal. There's a combination of different components, but it's a balanced diet though. As you can see, it has it consists of carbohydrates, protein, vitamins, and most fat and oils, and most importantly, it has calcium in it.
They eat a variety of things, from fruits to vegetables to a variety of things. For the category of fruits, now we can talk about pawpaw, watermelon, mangoes. What again? But we avoid oranges and pineapple. That's because of the acidic nature, because you can't really know which is which. Then for the vegetables, they eat cabbage, lettuce, cocoyam leaves, ugu leaves, scent leaves. They eat a variety of things.
The reason why we do use formulated feed is that they need a lot of nutrients, and you will readily not get it in just plants and fruits, so we augment with a formulated feed.
So we try to spread it out as much as possible. And we also use a very flat rack so that the snails at all angles, they're able to access the food. Because sometimes you have bullies. There was a time we'd see some snails that are not as big as the others because the bigger ones will bully them on the food. So we try to spread the food out as much as possible. So from every corner, at least, the snails are eating well.
In terms of cost and time, snail farming is a low-risk business and very profitable, unlike many other livestock businesses.
Snails are very sensitive. They are sensitive to light.
There are different types of snails with different characteristics. These differences usually affect certain things in their makeup, like reproduction.
This is what we call the fulica, the Achatina fulica. So if you can look at it, it has this sharp tail and a kind of stripe. So this is the one I said can lay. Okay, so this is what we call the Achatina fulica. So as you can see, it has this pointed tail, and it's the one I said can lay about 100 to 200 eggs at a go. I can do that maybe like 3 or 4 times in a year. So this is the Ganache snail, the AA. We call it the Achatina. So as you can see the tiger-like pattern on it. You know, it looks very, very, very different from these other two. Very, very unique snail. And even the fronts, you know, instead of it to be kind of like black or brownish, it looks kind of grayish. So we call it the Ganache snail. It also lays a lot of eggs. While the one peculiar to us here, mostly in Nigeria, is what we call the big black snail. That's the Achatina marginata. We call them the big black snail. You understand? So as you can see, so this is what it looks like. You know, you can see the black pattern on the body and also the stripe at the low. So this is the one I said lays between 60 to 80 eggs in a year. So the main difference between the marginata and these other species is that it grows very, very fast. It grows faster, you understand? So it's viable, it's very, very good for commercial purpose. So I advise anybody that wants to go into slave farming, you just get the Achatina marginata than the AA on the AF. And if you feel you can have lots and lots of patience, you can also go for these other two.
Snails are very delicate animals that require lots of care and attention.
The feeding trays, the water trays, and then we clean out feces, remnants in the soil. Then we wet so that there'll be more moisture and then the environment will be cooler. Then later on in the evening, we come in to place water and feed for them overnight because they are nocturnal animals, so they are more active at night and they usually feed at night. So that's why we prefer to feed them in the evenings.
On a daily basis, these farmers take time to check each snail to make sure they're all right.
He checks them one after the other to make sure that they are fine, to make sure there's no sicky snail, to make sure that they don't have bites, to also check that there are no insects that would kill them inside the pen. So he just does a general check.
And if any one of the snails look weak or unhealthy, they're set aside and monitored.
Once a snail is ill or is not okay, once you touch it, it's very slow in moving. It doesn't retract back as fast as it has done. So I know there's an issue with that particular snail.
Once a snail is sick, you just need to seclude it and pay close attention to it. And once you do that, most times they revive back. You understand? Yeah, you put them in like a separate pen, separate them from the others, give them more of calcium. In that period when they are sick, you don't really give them food. You give them more of calcium. So when you give them more of calcium, it kind of like boosts them back.
The organic nature of a snail farm makes it really difficult for chemicals to be used as treatment.
In fact, you need to be careful what you give your snails. You need to be very, very careful. They don't collect injections. They don't collect all these chemicals that you give all these birds and all. They'll just die. You understand? But, you know, in snail farming, you just need to go strictly organic for the snails to survive and grow big. You need to go organic. That's why they're organically bred. So, for me, the only medicine I think I use is ginger and garlic, and it's a once in a while thing. It shouldn't be too much.
In situations where a snail falls sick, double dose of calcium is usually a good starting point.
For me, I use snail shell because, you know, snail shell is 99% calcium carbonate. So I crush them into powder form. I formulate with their feeds and I also spray on their soil. So that's mostly what I use. Then we also have other sources of calcium like eggshells. We have oyster shells, we have bone meal, then we have limestone. So it all depends on the one you're easy to get that is available around you and your preference though. But I prefer the snail shell.
Mortalities are usually caused by certain factors.
Shouldn't be more than 0.16% if you're doing everything right. Yes. But once it's above that, you have to find out the source, the cause of the mortality in your snails. Probably soil or the feed or temperature, basically. Those are the three main factors.
We know that the snail shell is strictly calcium and they need this calcium to grow what? Their shells. So once you deny them enough calcium, what happens is they tend to cannibalize on themselves to derive that calcium they are lacking. Secondly, overcrowding in a trench can give the snails cannibalism, to make them to cannibalize each other because they need to move very freely. So when you overcrowd them, when they don't have freedom to move and all, they cannibalize themselves.
The mortality rate on a farm usually depends largely on the management of that farm.
When your management is right, your setup is good, your feeding is good, you can say that. But, okay, for example now, when a snail dies and you refuse to pick it up, maybe for like a few days, just know that you've lost an amount there. That's how quickly they can spread.
A good soil free of ants is an absolute necessity. And to get that, the soil sometimes needs to be heated.
Right here, we're trying to process soil. We're in the process of changing soil in our pens. We do this every quarter to ensure that there are no insects or harmful worms in the soil that will harm or kill our snails. So we do this, we change the soil out every 3 months. First of all, the most hygienic way or organic way is to heat it up instead of using chemicals. We don't use chemicals on our farm.
Snail farming is a business that requires growth, and growth determined by reproduction.
They have both male and female reproductive parts in one. So for each time a snail meets, it would decide to use either its male parts or its female parts. So they are all encompassing, they have both male and female, and they are very decisive on which parts to use at a certain mating period. So the snails, they would lay eggs for you in a minimum of 3 times in a year. So let's say every quarter. So for each mating session, after the snail has, met with another snail, which would use the opposite reproductive organ of what it is using, the minimum eggs you will get on an average, like worst case scenario, you get a minimum of about 6 eggs. They lay as much as 14, 15 eggs at once, and they do this 3 times in a year. So you can do the calculations for yourself and see, like, in a year, how many eggs. Let's even say 6 eggs on the average in a year for each mating. So you have 6 times 3 would give you 18. So you have 18 eggs on the average, worst case scenario, from each snail in a year. So if you have 1,000 snails, you can see the major thing about snail farming is the reproduction. That's your ability to hatch the eggs and make sure that your snails are laying. Once you can get the reproduction right, you just keep multiplying. The snails we have on the farm are just breeders. Yeah. So the eggs are smaller than... They're smaller than the adult size eggs. Okay. Usually, if we had jumbo snails, very big snails, the eggs would be about ×2 of this. Okay. Very big.
And then the question is, how do you get reproduction right?
On the farm, every day we check for eggs. So once we pick the eggs, what we do is we incubate them. It takes about, let's say, 3 weeks to 4 weeks for each egg to hatch. So we incubate them, wait till that period. Once you get there and check, you see that the snails have hatched already. So you just take them out and you care for them. You care for them differently from how you care for breeders because they are very fragile and they are very tender at that age. So you give them, basically what we give them are just natural fruits and vegetables, very tender and soft ones. That's what we give them, and they grow and they'll be fine.
Their mating process is always quite interesting.
Their mating ritual takes a long time. It can take between 5 to 8 hours. They play around each other, climb each other, maybe I would say smell each other. Then they have what they call love darts, that they shoot at each other and then if the other party is responding, and then they mate. And then
How do you know when a snail is pregnant?
basically maybe the weights, because we check their weights every month, and then if you see something, a discrepancy, like a big jump, you would know that it's carrying eggs.
With huge reproduction like this, it's important to have a strategic business plan and the market.
The lifespan of an adult size snail will be about 16 months, which is more than a year, which is actually a long time for snails. The good thing about it is that regardless of the lifespan of a snail, which is about 16 months, you would have clients that will ask for 3-month-old snails, that would ask for 6-month-old snails, that would ask for 9-month-old snails, that would ask for 12-month-old snails. So you really do not have to wait for 16 months before you start selling. Like what I do is I tell my students, like people that come for training, like I like for you to start a farm, and as soon as possible you start making money. You could have a segment of your farm which you are leaving for 16 months, that's to get the adult size snail, but you should start selling. When you have requests for small size snails, please do not wait, sell, because you need to generate income for your maintenance on the farm. So you have people come for small size, you have people come for medium size. Regardless of the lifespan of the snail, you can start making money.
Starting out a business like this, it's important to start small.
You can start with 1 pen, you can start with a small cubicle at the back of your house, you can start with a drum, you can start with tires. I usually advise that even though you have the capacity of 1 million snails, it's actually better for you to start with at least 1,000 snails. So you go through the process before you expand, because you can expand and not have good hands on your farm, and you run into loss.
If you start small, you can understand the trend of your farm and then grow gradually. And then another thing I would say is you have to be a patient person to be a snail farmer. You have to be patient. Their growth rate is quite slow. It takes 2 years for them to get to adulthood. So if you're not that patient, you really won't stand a chance in the business.
Running a snail farm without basic training may lead to several mistakes.
I didn't really have much knowledge about it. And 3 years ago, we didn't have a lot of people doing snail farming. We only had very, very few people. And even these few people we have, they were really into the practical aspect of the snail farming, but theoretical aspect they are there. So from the construction to the species of snails, to the type of sand to use, everything was all a disaster. So I lost a whole lot when I started. You need training. Why did I say you need training? This business is the kind of business in which you need patience. You need to have patience. And secondly, snails, they grow slowly. You understand? So when you have training about all this, then you can make up your mind that, yes, I really want to do this. Now, secondly, after getting the training and making up your mind that, yes, you really want to go into this business, you need someone to mentor you, to put you along the line. Because any small mistake in snail farming can cost you the entire business.
Creating a free pen where the snails can move freely is also very important in taking care of a snail.
Basically, the best type of, or the best housing for a snail farm is what we call the intensive system. That's the using the concrete pen, the trench, as against the normal wooden pen. And why are we using the concrete pen? Because normally they are always cold. They are cold, which is what the snails like. Secondly, they have element of limestone inside, and we all know limestone is calcium. Then about the soil, you can't use any other soil apart from loamy soil. Why? Loamy soil is the only soil that retains water. And these snails need that loamy soil because they drink water from what? From the soil. If you use something like clay soil, which is almost what I used when I started, it wasn't 100% clay, but almost clay. They tend to gum these snails down anytime they are moving, and they start swelling and death occurs. But with loamy soil, everything is soft. They drink water from it. They can retract, move around, bury their eggs inside. That's just the best environment for them with the soil. Then another thing is your roofing. your roofing too is almost is very, very important.
An important aspect of snail care is mulching.
Basically, the primary reason for using plantain leaves in these pens is, there's something we call mulching. That's a process whereby you improve the soil quality. So while we put these plantain leaves there, we leave them to decay completely into the soil. So when it does that, it improves the soil quality, which is very, very good for the snails.
Having the snail ready for consumption requires first killing the snail. Then with the aid of a spoke, the snails are removed from their shell. The next step is to wash out the slime from the body. Some ingredients could be used like salt, lemon, lime or alum. But in this situation, we're using lime to remove the slime from the body.
So I have to cut it. Okay, as I don't have much snail here, so I have to put like 3 lime to use to wash this snail. Well, I use this lime because of this lining nature. So you can see, you're not seeing any saliva again there. It's crunchy now. So I have to wash it, rinse it properly. Is ready, so I have to remove all these things because it's not good in the eyes, so I have to make it to be neat. I have to cut it.
And once the slime is removed completely, the snail is ready to be prepared.
I have to put it inside my pepper soup.
With various ingredients ranging from ginger, garlic, pepper, onion, the snail is prepared.
I have to stir it, turn them. You can see the snail. You can add as much as you like. I have to reduce my lights on the lower heat. This is pepper snail. You can see it. This pepper soup snail with Irish potato.
Eating a snail comes with several benefits. And that'll do it for us on the show today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm sure you've learned a thing or two. You can start with as low as 100,000 naira. So don't stop, start cracking. Thank you so much again for watching. I'm Victoria Ido. If you missed any parts of the show, you can check it on our YouTube channel, and you can also send your comments to the social media handles showing on your screen. Until I see you again, stay safe.